This is NBC10 News.
We continue to follow breaking news in the trial that has gained national attention. This afternoon, a jury in Kenosha, Wisconsin, found Kyle Rittenhouse not guilty on all counts in the shooting that killed two men and wounded a third. Joining us now is NBC10 legal analyst Enrique L1 Latoison. Enrique, thanks for being here. Were you surprised at the outcome of that case?
I was not. So I've been following this case very carefully. And this case is a lightning rod. Whatever side you were on before the verdict, you're still on that side and probably even more deeper. This case, when you look at the prosecution, the way the case started out and the witnesses started testifying for the prosecution, they were more helpful to the defense. And then when you look at the jury instruction for self-defense in Wisconsin, and you look at the fact that Mr. Rittenhouse actually testified in this case, it goes by what was the defendant thinking, not what was the thinking of the people that were going after him or maybe were trying to stop a shooter in this case. So it actually goes by what Mr. Rittenhouse was thinking at the time. And when you look at that and the way the jury instructions work for self-defense in Wisconsin and him testifying along with the prosecution's witnesses and their legal theory actually kind of more benefiting the defense, this verdict was not a surprise.
The judge today, Enrique, I know, told the jurors after their verdict that this showed the system works. And there's been a big focus on the behavior of the judge himself. How much do you think that impacted the outcome today, if at all?
Well, the jury in this case was not sequestered. So if they were following the instructions and they weren't looking at the news or looking at social media or reading things, a lot of the things that the judge was doing that got a lot of fire for, they would not know about, because a lot of the things that were being said by the judge were not in the presence of the jury. So there were a lot of, there was a lot of controversy, I would say, of things the judge was saying, the comments the judge was making, and things the judge was doing. But that was not in the presence of the jury. So the jury would only have known this if they had not followed the sequestration rules and had been kind of doing their research on the end. In the end, the defense actually said in the news conference that this judge is known to give it a fair trial, but a very harsh person to be sentenced by. So in the end, I think only the jury would know whether they were swayed by the things the judge was doing.
You were talking about the idea of the concept of self-defense. Talk more about that. When you had a defendant who traveled to Kenosha and brandished a rifle on the streets of a city in turmoil, but it speaks to his mindset, right?
Yeah, so this is why this case is such a lightning rod, because the things that Rittenhouse did were legal underneath the law. So he could go to Wisconsin, he'd go to Kenosha, he could open carry an AR-15 rifle. He's allowed to do all those things. Now, people look at that. This is an emotionally charged setting, and here you are coming in here with this firearm, and it's being brandished, and people are going to take that the wrong way, and a situation occurred. But at the time the situation occurred, you have Rosenblatt that's chasing him. Right at that time, what Rittenhouse thought at that time, he had a right for self-defense. After that, you have two individuals, Gage and the other individual that died. They think they're stopping an active shooter. But once again, the law doesn't say what do they think at that time. It only matters what Rittenhouse thought at that time. And on the stand, he says, I think my life is being in jeopardy at this point. I'm being knocked on the ground, I'm being hit with a skateboard, and I got a guy pointing a gun at me. So once again, the self-defense rules say he's allowed to act in that way. And that's the law. And, that's just the way it is in this case.
And to defend himself, yeah. Enrique L1 Latoison, thanks so much. We always appreciate your perspective.